Chapter 5. Islam's teaching leads to violence.
I keep hearing Islam's teaching leads to violence. Islam is a violent religion. Islam spreads through violence.
This again is a concoction built carefully in various stages. The US propaganda machinery picked up Islam as the new threat after the collapse of the communist Soviet Union, especially after the US stooge Raza Shah Pahlavi was uprooted in a popular revolution led by Ayatollah Khomeini.
Formation of Israel also part of the strategy. US was clamoring to take control of the oil zone, which it had been planning since it helped plant the state of Israel in the middle of Arab states, near the oil-rich zone, Iraq, Gulf and Iran.
Ever since America has made it sure that in terms of military might, the tiny state of Israel is stronger than all its neighboring Arab states. Israel was consistently used to beat Arab powers trying to lead an independent course. I think US propaganda machinery has also done a lot of damage in demonizing Islam. True, after the discovery of Islam as the new enemy, the US propaganda machine started projecting every political event in the region in the color of religion. Islam in reality stands for peace, and it is the message of peace which Prophet Muhammad brought to the warring Arab tribes and people beyond. Its scriptural meaning has many a time been distorted by Muslim rulers who used it for their political purposes, and lately by the US propaganda machine for the effective demonization of Islam to use it as a pretext to attack country after country in the oil-rich zone and to squeeze others into submission. Propaganda does shape people's perceptions, and this is the example of that. During the last few decades, propaganda has been intensified that Islam promotes violence and that there are verses in Quran which mandate the Muslims to kill the non-believers, the kafirs. This is a total distortion of the values of Islam. These verses occur in the context when the new converts to Islam were attacked by the tribes opposed to Islam. In this context, Quran says that the violence is permitted as a means of self-defense and self-defense only. To exhort the Muslims in the situation of war, these verses, which were very contextual, are presented as being the teachings of Islam, and so the accompanying propaganda. I think in the past, kings belonging to all religions have resorted to violence for their political goals, choosing the name of their religion or posing as champions of their faith. Crusades, jihad and dharma yudh were convenient covers for the expansion of kingdoms, involving a lot of violence, and were sanctioned by the clergy of each faith. Like earlier, as kings used the language of religion for appropriating power, today also a section of powerful countries, especially the imperialists and neo-colonialists, are using the garb of religion to achieve their political goals. So, what will you say to the perception that Islam and democracy are not compatible? Most of the religions emerged during the phase of human society when there was prevalence either of tribal cults, feudal lordships, and exploitation of the poor.
With the advent of industrialization, the process of secularization, weakening of the grip of clergy on social affairs, and development of relations of liberty, equality, and fraternity started gaining ground.
The nation states which emerged during this phase had Christianity as the main religion, and the secularization process had to confront the church and bring in the new relations of society.
But the countries where Islam was the major religion were mostly colonies at this stage of time, early 20th century.
And here the freedom struggle did introduce the process of secularization and democratization. Unfortunately, these countries were also the ones where the oil was discovered.
The First World War was fought over European nation states' disagreement over sharing colonial loot.
And the Second World War was fought for the division of markets amongst the imperialists. The major point in the process has been the discovery of oil in the Middle East. Emergence of America as a superpower and a leading industrial nation, the dynamics of the freedom movements changed. The US began to thwart the democratization process in different colonies and opposed the freedom movements of many countries in the name of defense of freedom.
In many countries, it had to lose face. In Vietnam, despite facing heavy odds, the Vietnam people held out, and US had to retreat from its fake mission of saving freedom. But in some countries, it could succeed in the installation of puppet, feudal, or dictatorial regimes.
Yes, we recall that in Chile, the democratically elected Salvador Allende regime was overthrown and Pinochet, our military dictator, was installed.
In both these countries, the leaders of the government or revolution were Marxists. It is interesting to note here that in some of the colonies, the freedom movement and industrialization process could not be undertaken by the industrialist class, and hence the collective bureaucracy assumed the functions of the industrialist class. As pointed out above, the Second World War also saw the formation of Israel in the heart of the Arab Islamic nations surrounding the oil resources.
Here, ironically, the democratization process was quelled or counter-revolutions were staged in order to push back the secularization and democratization processes.
US pitched against democracy. In Iran, the democratic government of Prime Minister Mossadegh was overthrown and Reza Shah Pahlavi was installed as the absolute monarch in 1953 under the watchful eyes of the CIA. Mossadegh was considering the nationalization of oil industry. Reza Shah acted as a puppet and permitted the plunder of his country's oil resources, brought in symbols of modernization while suppressing the social and democratic transformation of the Iranian society. The result was the widening gulf between the rich and the poor. He effectively stifled the democratic institutions in his own country as well as in the neighborhood.
The anger, frustration, and helplessness of the people gave rise to a massive popular uprising against the Shah and the installation of the clerical regime of Ayatollah Khan Khomeini. Khomeini called America as the Great Satan. Iraq and Iran had a long stretching war following this with open Western support. In the war, America and its Western and Arab allies supported Iraq and pumped in funds and ammunition to get the war going and to cripple Iran with a view to stop its revolutionary ideas from spreading across its borders. These forces also raised the Shia-Sunni issue to marginalize the Iranian influence in the Muslim world.